Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like. We appreciate it.
Yep. Check out the podcast below in the description. Subscribe.
How about our friends at wineaccess.com/ham, John?
Love these guys. 20% off. 20% off, Guy. Wineaccess.com/ham. 20% off. Send some bottles to some people.
Okay, so here's the deal. We have to, sometimes in trying times, John, you have to have a sense of humor. Not that this is funny, but we thought we would rank Niners players by the injuries that would be the most devastating to this team. And I think part of what makes it interesting this year for this group is that Jimmy Garoppolo historically has been hurt, but would he be on the list of the top 5 most devastating injuries to this franchise? And I think the debate probably comes in around number 5. But would you agree with this? In some order, these 4 guys, Kittle, Bosa, Trent Williams, and Fred Warner, would you agree or would you argue with any of that?
I'm in.
Or would you put Jimmy?
I like it.
I mean, the fact that Trey Lance is on your roster, obviously in any given year, you don't. Jimmy Garoppolo playing well is probably the best thing for this team this year. But given that you have a quarterback who you're pretty heavily invested in, a big part of your future behind him, maybe you could weather that. It's hard to know. I mean, we're talking about a rookie who played 1 game in the last 2 years at the FCS level.
Yeah, I think one thing that makes the Niners unique relative to a lot of good teams, like let's just bring up like 4. The Bucks, Seattle, hell, the Cowboys. Yeah, they might not even be good, but I mean, they have a high and the Packers. It's always like, well, if Dak goes down, well, if Russell goes down, yeah, you're fucked. Like once you start paying a guy 35, 40, and he's a Pro Bowl quarterback, it's like, what about our backup? Yeah, that's not the sport, right? It's like Bill Polian used to always say in the Colts building, if Peyton goes down, it's all a moot point. None of this matters. That's where it makes the Niners a little unique is they were very Jimmy dependent the last 4 years, right? Definitely once he got here, they weren't until he showed up, but those next 3 years, and 2 of them, he just disappeared and it was a disaster. It does feel like just with the reinforcements, you just got 2 bites at the apple, right? Like if Jimmy were to go down, it's not over. If Trey were to have an injury and Jimmy was healthy, you'd be fine because Trey might not be playing anyway. Not that that'd be good, but their situation, like for the Rams, you can just look in their division. If Stafford went down, if Russell goes down, or Kyler Murray goes down, it's over for those teams, like It was for the Niners last year. This year, the Niners just have it's going to be a one-off situation this one season where they got 2 guys, right? There's no if Stafford goes down, we got what was the guy's name? John Wolford. Like is
he still there? Probably. I mean, McVay.
Yeah, he's there. McVay did mention, I think, with Kingsbury or one of those that the play call that he sent him on the run that it got him killed. He's like, that was on me. Now, I didn't know he was going to dive head first, but I was like, I thought he died. But I think he's alive now and he's their backup. But they're all in on Stafford. And that will be the case. Like once Jimmy gets traded this offseason, like once, potentially, right? Trey Lance will be number 1 on the list.
Yeah, he's not going to be on the roster for $22 or $27 million, Jimmy Garoppolo in 2022.
No.
So you only get that luxury, if you want to call it that, once. But, okay, so for that reason, normally your quarterback would be in your top 5. You could argue this year it's hard. I mean, my first reaction, John, was the next guy on that list, I'd put Ayuk. I think he's got kind of the next highest ceiling just in terms of being a dynamic playmaker for them.
Well, you want to just rank 1 through – let's just rank the guys you listed because I know who my number 1 is.
Kittle 1?
No, because he's been hurt. Like, I've seen them operate without him, and they can function. Now, he's their best player, but I'm not saying I'm rooting for him to go out, but they've managed before. You can run the ball still. You could throw it if the wide receivers are healthy. I think we saw last year with Nick Bosa, it dramatically alters everything because he is a superstar pass rusher. So if you're going to rank this list, think of it just the most important positions. Well, if a quarterback's not on this list, the second most important position is the pass rusher, and he's a guy that last year I think a lot of people thought like 15-sack season coming off his baller rookie year, and then he disappeared, and it just wasn't the same. Like he is a difference maker, right? Like even Trent Williams. Like to me, Trent Williams is high on the list more for the money they gave him. We've seen like Joe Staley got hurt, and they were able to patchwork it.
Yeah, see, I don't know if they could. Because it's a twofold deal. He helps you run the football and he protects your quarterback, Trent Williams.
Yeah, so to me, the argument at number 1 would be between Bosa and Trent Williams. It would probably be 1A, 1B in some order.
Yeah, I think a big part of this is
because their defensive coordinator's gone too. So you're asking because last year their defense was good, but Saleh's not around.
Yeah. I think part of it, and this year it's not to you and I about Super Bowl. In a Super Bowl year, I think you could argue it's Kittle because he's a top 15 receiver in the league when he's right. That's what he was 3 years ago, and one of the top blockers in the league. So he's what George Kittle is in some ways a two-way offensive player, right? He's very rare in that regard. But yeah, I mean, if you said everyone else is healthy, they're way more equipped to handle Kittle. Maybe way more strong than they would be to handle Bosa. I agree with that.
Well, I mean, really, their 4 players that you're listing are complete all-around superstars. Like Trent Williams is elite in the passing game, elite in the run game. Kittle, same. Fred Warner, same. Like, he's the guy covering tight ends and running backs, and he's making all the tackles in the run game, right? And then who am I leaving out? And Bosa, same thing. Run game, pass game. Trent Williams, Bosa. I mean, yeah. I would go in some order. Trent Williams, Bosa, one of those guys won. I might put Kittle under Warner just because, like, I don't remember games without Warner, and he dominates.
I think the case for that would be just take a line and put above that line your top-tier players on each side of the football. And right now there's 2 on defense, right? And there's 3 on offense, 4 if Mostert's healthy. I mean, on offense, because I do put Ayuk.
But he's never. He's already hurt.
It's true. But I'm just saying, who are your tier 1 players on offense? Trent Williams, George Kittle. I would put Ayuk there based on what I think he can become. So
you're a little quicker to anoint than myself.
But he's got to be healthy. But I think if he is, I think he's a tier, like for them, a tier 1 kind of playmaker.
Yeah.
So I
wouldn't put him there, but I'd say he has the opportunity to get there.
I know
Juszczyk's been pretty important for him.
I mean, there are so many guys are critical. Like, this is what we've talked about with them. I think you could make the case. I know you're not going to like this, Jason Verrett at 5, just based on the lack of depth they have at cornerback. I thought it felt like such a bonus when he was healthy all year last year for them to have one of those spots, one of those cornerback spots settled. And I remember was it the Seahawks game? It's like, oh, did Jason Verrett just get seriously injured? And he ended up coming back in the game. And I thought, like, what are they going to do if this guy's out? I think the domino effect of an injury to him
they did
is
draft
pretty
a couple guys.
They did, but we don't know how good, if they're ready to start as NFL corners yet.
No, but I mean, I think it's fair to say both of them throughout the season are going to get their opportunities to play.
Yeah.
Because Verrett, I would say last year is more of an outlier than I'm expecting him to miss some games.
I know. And
Mosley, I mean, I'll give Sherman credit. He nailed the Mosley evaluation. He was in on him early, and he's back, and he's their starting corner, but he is an undrafted free agent. He's kind of an overachiever. Like, I just seeing those 2 guys at practice from Michigan and Oregon, that just have some physical characteristics. Like, I think the Niners, part of the draft, you don't know which ones. You just hope one of those guys becomes someone that you feel can just be a functional starter, even as a rookie. Like, it's the way the NFL works, right? Those guys, you're going to need one of those two. One of those 2 guys is going to end up playing a lot. And maybe both of them do because that one guy gets exposed and the other guy comes in for him. But
this is what I'm saying is there's just so much. If you got a full year out of Jason Verrett, that would be one of the most significant things that could happen in terms of
it'd be a big deal.
Debo?
I'd say Kyle health scare would be devastating.
Who?
Every once in a while, coaches just like, I had a health scare, I got to miss a couple games. Like, the Niners.
Did you see the Eagles had to like cart a coach off? I think just like
dehydration
or heat wave, whatever, heat stroke or something like that, but not a stroke.
It'd be one of those like, hey, I got to step away for a month, some health scares. Like, that would be, they couldn't overcome that.
That would be significant.
Like certain teams, like the Ravens they would just, not saying ideally I'm not rooting for any coach to go away, but there are some teams that would be, even Seattle, like with Pete just kind of stomping around, right? Like McVay, Kyle, if your head coach is a position, basically well, we really get to know, okay, Eric, time for you to call the plays.
Oh, Bieniemy, yeah, you're right. Also could be an opportunity. Who would you put 5th? I'm leaning Ayuk. Or you get to Garoppolo. You can go, this is a little much here for Trey Lance now.
Yeah, I'm cool with Ayuk. Because I think you're right. What he showed last year, he has a better opportunity probably than Debo to become, like a top 15 wide receiver in his time. Mm-hmm. Debo's just more of a unique outlier, really good player, but like I don't think anyone's ever going to be talking about him like a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And I'd say so far through 2 years, you couldn't put him on a list of guys not going to get hurt. He gets hurt, right?
Which would feel like found money if you played 17 games, 16 games.
Part of also being a good team, I mean, I'm not some diehard special teams guy here, but your punter and your kicker, when you're just playing big-time games against big-time teams, like those two guys, the dude from Utah and Robbie Gould, part of usually good teams, their special teams unit, their kicker and punter are good. Yeah. I like Mitch Wisnowski.
Yeah, I do too. The other thing with Ayuk is Brandon Ayuk, you didn't draft this guy in the second round, even the third round, the fourth round. Like you drafted him in the first round. So like to talk about him like you want him to become a tier 1, top 15 receiver in the NFL, he's your first round pick. That's the way we should talk about first round picks.
I think we talk about like top 15 picks different than we do in the 20s. We just like assume like a pick in the 20s is closer to like a guy picked 50. Well, reading about why the Ravens, once the Ravens got Bateman, they weren't that interested in Julio. And you're like, yeah, really? The guy, they drafted him in the first round. I hope they're all in on this guy, right? Of course. It's not even that crazy to think about.
Maybe it's because receivers just miss so much in the first round that we protect ourselves against situations like that.
But I feel like if you're drafted between 25 and 32, we don't really consider you like a first-round pick. You don't get the same hype as like Kinlaw. They're all in on Kinlaw. Well, if they're all in on Brandon.
If you're a quarterback drafted in that range, we like, oh, well, it's a value pick, right?
Yeah.
We don't view you like a top, because if you're a quarterback who really is a number 1 level pick, you go in the top 10.
Unless you're in Philly, then they're all over you. If you're like Jalen Reagor, pick 22, they approach you like you're the third pick in the draft.
Well,
and you better produce.
Yeah, well, no doubt. But part of that is like Jalen Reagor. There's guys that got drafted after Jalen Reagor that were better than him last year. Brandon Ayuk and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson went after Jalen Reagor. Like, thank God for Brandon Ayuk, he went after Justin Jefferson. But, I saw a stat today.
Part of Ayuk, too, is he's compared to just his whole crew, right? That whole group. Like, he's just – those guys are going to keep shining.
But he's been good compared to that group, right?
No, he has. Jefferson's the only –
I mean, Henry Ruggs did not have a very good year. You're saying Jefferson's the one that was better than him last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw CD say something, went on my timeline, like, get ready, because it's on this year. I was like, damn, I bet this guy. I like that guy.
You know what's funny is you and I were talking about CD the other day.
Would you trade Brandon Ayuk right now for CD Lamb?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, CD was a dominant force on the Habe Habes DraftKings team last year. And then I saw a few things over the last probably 2 weeks, like CD Lamb's about to have a breakout year. And in my head, I'm like, didn't he break out as a rookie? Wasn't he incredible? I saw Roto World. He was in 58.7% of his team snaps last year. So he wasn't like he could play. He's going to play more snaps this year, CD Lamb, than he did last year.
Well, like there's a decent chance he's their best wide receiver. And Amari had a career. Like Amari was good last year because Amari was a good DraftKings guy too. Not a Hall of Famer, but yeah, he's making a lot of cash. Zeke's making like 18. I mean, they got a lot of money going along around, Dak, Zeke, Amari, even like Derrick Henry. Because I was looking at, they're paying him a lot of money. Derrick Henry makes $10 million this year. And given his production, like any team in the league would pay for 12, 15 touchdowns and 2,000 yards from scrimmage, $10 million, right? Is Derrick Henry at $10 million given his production one of the better deals in the league? Like to me, running back.
Where's his holdout?
When they're quote unquote, well, remember he got paid last year, but his running back money was part of Zeke's was like guaranteed $15 million for 3 straight years. The reason Zeke's a bad deal is because he's not running for 1,700 yards. If Zeke was running for 1,700 yards and 10 touchdowns, I don't think people would be talking shit. People talk shit about running back contracts when you either get hurt or not as good. If you produce at a high level, you think the Titans mind paying Derrick Henry $10 million a year? No problem. No different than the Niners. Like I'll give George Kittle $14 million and Zenny as long as he's getting 1,200 and a bunch of touchdowns. It's about your production and your money, not necessarily paying the position.